Hello and welcome to TFF Teacher from Finland. My name is Jouni Vilkka and I am a teacher from Finland. This video is part of a video series that I am making about the course Introduction to Philosophy. We have now advanced to discussing philosophical or critical thinking, and the concept of argument is important for that. So what is an argument? I'm not talking about having an argument with someone. An angry exchange of words can of course be called an argument, but I am not talking about such a quarrel here. An argument in this context means a form of reasoning, such as a lawyer might make in a court of law. Philosophy is all about arguing in this sense, although not in a court of law. An argument has two parts, the first of which is a claim, some kind of opinion or point of view or statement or proposition or even a suggestion for a course of action. It's just something that the person making the argument wants to convince others to also accept. And of course, the second part is the justification or the reasons to accept the claim. The latter part, the second part, the justification for the claim, is generally more complicated. Most of the argument is really that justification part. But it is important to understand and be able to distinguish the claim itself from the justification for the claim. To make matters a bit less clear, the term argument is also often used to refer only to that latter part, the justification, or the reasons for accepting the view. But argument really contains both of these parts. So when assessing an argument, trying to see whether it's a good one or not, you should ignore the content of the claim. What exactly is being claimed? The claim itself may be one that seems, at least at first glance, rather strange or even outlandish. But that should not stop you from looking at the reasons why someone thinks it is the correct view. To think philosophically, you have to keep an open mind. So ignore what you think you know about the subject and look only at the reasons given in support of the claim in question. That is when you are trying to assess the argument itself. There are many ways to fail in making an argument, and it may be easier to explain how you should not argue rather than how you should argue. So I will start by giving some examples of how you may fail in making an argument. During a discussion, you may find a presented view to be ridiculous, and instead of trying to understand and really get to the thinking behind the view presented, you may ridicule it, make fun of the view, or even worse, you may make fun of the person presenting that view. You should always remember to distinguish between people and the views or beliefs those people hold, or the statements they make. And the same goes for yourself. Ridiculing a person will only make them hostile, and ridiculing a claim does not prove it false. It is possible to use humor, even ridicule, while making an argument, and that is how good meme pictures are made. But merely making fun of a view does not constitute a counter-argument. Similarly, you may lose your temper and start shouting or otherwise expressing your anger, or in other ways misbehaving, basically. Such behavior is likely to backfire if you are trying to influence how other people think. Your views and even your character will seem questionable to others, and your behavior may be seen as proof that you are unable to provide rational arguments and are just trying to bully others into accepting your view. Even if you are a politician and not a philosopher, you should understand this. There is, or at least should be, a strong connection between philosophy and politics, after all. Arguments cannot be based on unreliable sources or just your own opinions. I have always liked the saying, opinions are like assholes, everyone's got one and they all stink. If an argument is based on such poor ground, there is little reason to accept it. You should find common ground with the people you are discussing with, your interlocutors, on which to build your argument. This could be everyday experiences, or it could be the scientific consensus on an issue. It depends on who you are discussing with and what you are discussing about. In seeking the truth, the arguments presented must be rational. Appealing to emotions may work in politics, unfortunately, but not so much in philosophy. I'm not saying that emotions are necessarily irrational, but they are not rational propositions either. Merely having strong emotions about something has no bearing on whether that something is true or not. That said, you should also try to separate the expression of emotion from what is being said. Just because someone is expressing a strong emotion does not mean they are not also making good arguments. They may have eminently good reasons for their emotional state. This is especially true in politics, when, for example, members of minorities may find themselves not being taken seriously or even being oppressed. In such cases, they have every right to be angry and express that anger. Demanding that they not do so is called tone policing, and discounting their arguments on that basis is a fallacy, a form of ad hominem, to which I'll return later. Dealing with an agitated person, of course, is not an ideal situation. But even in such a situation, one should try and stay calm and analyze the actual information content of what is being said, rather than focusing on the style or manner in which it is being said. Because that may prove to be too difficult, it may be necessary to refrain from discussing the matter until it can be done in a more neutral manner. This should not be used as an excuse to ignore the aggrieved parties, of course. The basic form of the ad hominem fallacy, which I already mentioned, but the basic form of it, as the name implies, is attacking the person instead of the argument, the messenger instead of the message, so to speak. Any form of criticism of the character, abilities, general appearance, or whatever feature of the person making an argument is irrelevant to the veracity or validity of the argument itself. It is important to know that the same fallacy can also be used in a reverse manner, which is still a form of ad hominem, but a reversed version, supporting a claim on the basis of who or what kind of person made the claim. In this case, it is not an attack on the character, because it's the opposite, but it is still equally irrelevant. It is unfortunate that people often accept an authority figure, such as a scientist, as a general authority on all things, on the basis of that person being an actual expert on some specific thing, but it's just one thing. Quantum physics, say, has little to do with social policy. A single person may, of course, be informed on many things, but then this needs to be shown for each of those things separately. So a physicist who also happens to be very well acquainted with social policy might be an expert on both things. But just because they are a physicist, you can't expect them to be very knowledgeable regarding social policy. An actual expert's opinion on a matter may be useful to know, or at least it would be nice to know, I'm sure. But appealing to that person's authority is still a form of ad hominem, if used as an argument. For example, probably everyone has heard at least something about Albert Einstein, so let's use him as an example. Let's make an argument of this form. 1. Einstein did not believe in fundamental randomness in the laws of nature. 2. Therefore, the laws of nature do not contain fundamental randomness. So we are appealing to the authority of Einstein here. Both of these sentences may perhaps be true, but you cannot infer the second from the first. It is a fallacy, because it is not a valid form of making a case. I will return to fallacies in more depth in another video soon. The views of experts, especially the consensus of experts, is important, but not as part of the argument. It is wise to accept provisionally the consensus opinion of the experts, but that is not the same as showing that opinion is true. You can perhaps appeal to the authority of experts when arguing that some view is the consensus view at present, but you cannot claim that proposition P, or like I just mentioned, the idea that there is no fundamental randomness in the universe. So you cannot claim that that is true because an expert, even Albert Einstein, said so. For the argument for that view, you have to look at how the expert or experts have argued for that view. They have evidence and good arguments to support the view, I'm sure. So look at how they argue. And if the argument is good and undefeated by counter-arguments, you can accept that view as provisionally true. Where the views of experts matter is in assessing the credibility of a source. That is, an expert is a good, reliable source for whatever they are an expert on, especially if that view is published in a peer-reviewed academic publication. Historians know this as source criticism, the most important tool in the toolbox. It is also known as information evaluation. This is an important skill for everyone, ever more so in the so-called information age we are now living in. We may realize that a given source is highly dubious, and so we won't trust the information from that source, and that is all well and good. In fact, we should do a lot more of that than we do. But at the same time, we should also realize that the source itself has nothing to do with the truth value of the claim or the validity of the argument presented. Those have to be assessed separately. Of course, there is usually little reason to look deeper into a claim if the source of the claim is judged to be very unreliable and untrustworthy. Still, the argument could be very good and the claim even true, even if presented on a very sketchy website or some other seemingly unreliable source. It is thus important to understand the difference between the source criticism and ad hominem fallacy, and to know how to use the first correctly and how to avoid the latter. In the next video, I will talk about formulating your own argument. See you then.